better right now to me than the Final Fantasy games are.
Right.
Never.
And,
All right, I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic. And this is one that's been pretty big, you know. I mean, with Sega, I mean, shoot, shutting down some locations and then only going to 4 major IPs at the moment. What's going on?
well, I can't tell whether Sega is going to come out of the spine or whether Sega is just a slowly dying company. Because Sega have over the last this generation is slowly just whittled down more and more. They've lost for a long while. Until recently, they seem to have lost their vision of what Sega was. They weren't making these people want to play. They couldn't. They seem to have finally gotten Sonic straightened out. You know, Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations
Which is good, I
were two
mean,
games.
because for the
Yeah,
longest time, I mean, we definitely do not want to repeat of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
no, it's like that is a horrible, horrible game that should be buried somewhere because it's bad. But Sega is funny because it's funny when you look at their list. I was looking at their list. There are 4 major brands today. I mean, okay, so Sonic's there, which is not surprise to anybody. Aliens, I could see that. But then they go Total War and Football Manager. Now the PC side, Total War is a strategy game. It has a decent following. But that's their 4 major brands. Back to me, they left Yakuza off that list. Shocked me.
What gets me about Sega nowadays is, I mean, I think, that what they could do is kind of take the Nintendo approach in some form of rebooting some of their classic series.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad to see Shinobi remade again.
I mean, they got so many old series they could go back to. And if they took their time, not be in a hurry, craft a great remake of those, a great, not, I don't want to say remake because I hate reboots of series, but you could make another game in the series today and craft it slowly. Don't be in a hurry. Gamers would buy it. I mean,
I mean, we had stuff like on the Genesis, like back on Sega, I mean, like even Panzer Dragoon, I mean, that could still turn out pretty good, just come up, bring that back.
well, I mean, that could bring a new Strider. Like, oh, he's like, man.
And see, we got Panzer Dragoon Strider, we got Shinobi. I
Oh, they
mean,
did do Shinobi 3DS. They did do Shinobi on 3DS, so
well, it's
they
just,
have.
I mean, Sega in a form, feels like it's lost its edge to me. I mean, I loved Sonic Generations. I still play that, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's like they're really not promoting their games because a really, really underrated game published by Sega was a Binary Domain.
Yeah, I mean, they made Binary Domain. They made
Vanquish, Bayonetta.
yeah, those are all good games. Sega hasn't advertised, except for Sonic, they refuse to advertise their games, and I think that's a mistake. But let's be honest here. The other thing that Sega is in an article that I know some people are glad over is Sega, they say they will have 70 to 80 ISO games and downloadable games. So it's not like they're not going to be making games; they're just going more download.
Mm-hmm.
I think in some respects, some of their franchises aren't big enough that they may have to go downloadable. I mean, like you, Thomas, you got Virtual Fighter 5, the new one, because you love the series.
Yeah, I mean, and
Is it going?
it's just a form. I mean, like you were saying, I mean, Sega. I mean, if they don't feel that, I mean, and in a way, I mean, it is kind of a good thing. I mean, you can bring out a game downloadable to like the PlayStation Store, Xbox Live Arcade for, I mean, what does Virtual Fighter cost? $15? I mean, rather than, I'd rather have that, than go take it on a shelf, put a $60 price tag on it, and then, we never hear anything about it ever again.
I mean, but Sega's like Nintendo, and they have such a big library for these companies, and they just don't want to dig into it and you know make. But then again, they have made some bad remakes. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
was it
like, I'll take Sonic the Hedgehog for example. I mean, that's been
was
before Generations and Colors. That was treated like a stepchild.
was it Golden Axe they remade on this generation that
Yeah.
wasn't that good? They made some bad remakes.
Um, no.
I mean,
Another
But
could remake is the Streets of Rage series. That
oh,
would
they could. There's no doubt. I think they're downloadable. That would have a market. I like a physical copy, but I understand today if it's not worth the risk, just make it downloadable. I mean,
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, like I think they honestly took a good approach with Virtua Fighter.
well, not only that, but don't forget, if you have PlayStation Plus, you can get that game for free.
And
Yeah.
I mean that's a good thing for PlayStation Plus members because we're like Virtual Fighter. We haven't seen this in years. What happened to this? And I mean, I give Sega a lot of props on the game because the game is real. The mechanics are real polished up, very nicely on it compared to what they were in the original five. I really feel
I got
the
I
game is where it needs to be.
Yeah, because I have Virtua Fighter 5 online in the 360. That's a good game. It's just one of those series that it's kind of been gone for so long that a lot of people forget about it. And Sega hasn't advertised these games properly anyway. So
I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, Trouble. I mean, if Sega could come out, start advertising their stuff. I mean, I'll give you the best form who I think is the best about advertising, and I'm going to say Nintendo.
Yeah.
well, let's do this. Anthony's the youngest gamer out of us. So Anthony, what Sega games would you remember that you wish Sega would bring out?
Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Alien Storm, Shinobi,
Well,
obviously.
well, we're getting Alien Colonial Marine someday, but uh, supposedly that game's been working on forever. But Alien, Sega, those companies that like Capcom, other companies like Konami, they have such a deep library, but for some reason they ignore it.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, when they-
I mean, they need to learn from Nintendo. Well, Nintendo hasn't done very well in the Wii, but make new IPs, but yet keep bringing back old ones. Both those together will make you money. So
I mean,
yeah, like for
like,
Streets of
oh, go ahead.
remake, when they did the Streets of Rage remake, somebody else made it. Obviously, Nintendo took it down. They could have taken that engine and just remade it and polished it up with like better graphics and say, okay, here's a new Streets of Rage for you. I will guarantee you that will sell a lot for Sega, but they just don't want to.
or let's just talk the simplest thing for Sega. If they really want, let's talk. It mattered in the early 2000s. Why have they done it? They could simply have done a simple HD remake of Shadow 1 and 2.
Well, interesting enough, they're doing the Jet Set Radio. I'm not sure if that's Sega or somebody else.
Right.
Sega's doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sega's doing it.
08, they're doing that. It's coming out next week.
I mean, I don't know. If I could say, one series I'm glad, Sega kind of killed off was Echo the Dolphin. I was never a fan of it.
Oh, it's not bad. They even have a PlayStation 2 game. It's not bad. It had a niche appeal. It's not a.
It was confusing. Now, I mean, as far as Sega goes, making bad moves, I mean, I think we can all agree. We hope the rumor isn't true, and they're going to bring back Seaman or Seaman, whatever it was
They are
called.
bringing back Seaman in the 3. Yes, it's not a rumor. They'll bring back Seaman. for the
That's
3.
a bad move, in my opinion.
Like it.
You know what? It's interesting if they add to the game, not just do a direct boot, but actually add into the game what they could do. Think of that game with today's technology, what they could really do with that game today.
That's true. I
mean-
mean, with the voice commands and everything.
Yeah, Seaman coming soon. But I'm just saying they could really do some really interesting stuff. But if it's a direct reboot, then how many people even know what the heck Seaman is? To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
But man, as far as Sega goes, what I always felt, as a kid, I always felt, my biggest thing that brought them down the hardest was I just felt, they were too ahead of their time with everything.
Well, okay, early 2000s when I worked at an arcade, you had Crazy Taxi come out, which I love that game. It's an awesome arcade game. They had this game called Safari. A lot of people probably didn't play. It's based off of the Crazy engine. They originally were supposed to have 3 games based off that engine, and in that game, you were riding around and you were capturing animals. You had a net, you had to capture.
I remember
animals,
that. That
right?
was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Sega's always had a great arcade, but for some reason, Sega hasn't brought like Safari and hasn't somehow can't translate that over to current gen.
And it wouldn't be a bad thing if they could, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I would really hate to see, one day Sega, just go down. It would really be a sad day in gaming for me.
what killed the Dreamcast.
Well, Sega is like they have a lot of important anniversaries coming up next couple of years. They could simply know that stuff. I mean, they could simply do if they didn't want to risk the Panzer Dragoon, they do a Panzer Dragoon collection.
Yeah.
With the history and everything. Collectors would buy. You do more than Atlas reports with that, right? You don't make 1 million copies. You make a limited amount of copies with an art book, maybe a soundtrack. And people would probably buy that stuff up if Sega wanted to do some niche stuff that would just be fan service, but would bring loyalty to them.
Yeah, I mean, and that would probably be another form of, them getting people saying, "Hey, come back over to Sega,"
Yeah, like they did with the Sonic Mega Genesis collection. That was a little nice thing Sega gave out. They gave you 20 to 30 Sega Genesis games to play on the PS3 or 360.
Even stuff like
had a Sega. The Mega Collection also came out on the GameCube and the. PS2,
I know. I mean, Golden Axe has been rebooted on the 360, but I want to see a true remake to that game, or a true, continuation. I loved Golden Axe on the Genesis.
I think it would work well as a 2D side scroller than a 3D, because
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say, I would say with Golden Axe, to be honest, imagine Diablo 3. Take that kind of form and make that Golden Axe with the whole online, but people can play together online, fun game with a lot of loot and a lot of stuff. That would draw people into Golden Axe. That would make Golden Axe relevant today.
It's just, I mean, I just really feel that they're not keeping enough IPs. I mean, like you said, I mean, they're only keeping those 4 major ones for this year, and it just really feels to me like Sega gave up on the console market.
Well, I can't argue Sonic because the last one was Generations is the most Sonic game ever. And I was thinking about that whole thing with Golden Axe. That actually worked with Gauntlet too. Owns that, doing that kind of